Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Game Design Archive with Edvard and Ludwig. I'm Ludwig, and as always I'm here with Edvard. Hello Edvard.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk about a very spicy technical topic, which is workflows and how they affect game design. So go ahead, Edvard.
Yeah, I think we need a better term. So I guess if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments. But I guess what we're going to talk about is a slightly more technical thing, right, than usual.
Mhm.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Which is more of the structure that is structure / workflow of games, which is not technically, right? That's why it's so not the structure of the gameplay, not the structure of the story, right? The structure of this affects these things, right?
Yeah.
But it sort of has more in common with the workflow of, say, Photoshop or something, right?
Yeah.
Not the workflow of whatever. Yeah.
And to be clear, we're not talking about workflow when designing games or when making games or whatever.
No,
we're talking about
games.
the workflow when playing the game.
No, it's a bad term. It does not work.
But we couldn't come up with anything else, so that's what we're using.
I guess the structure or something, right?
Yeah.
But
then it's okay, it could be game design as well.
Yeah, game design structure, right, or whatever. But I mean, this is a part of game design, I would argue, right? But it's not. It's not so much focused on the design itself, I guess. And I guess we have a bunch of different points we want to make, but one of them is that there is a lot of time wasted, right? I guess that's where we should start.
Yeah. Do you have any concrete examples so that our confused viewers may understand?
Well, yeah, I guess we can start with the splash screen, right? So you could argue that the splash screen. So if you don't know what the splash screen, or what I mean with the splash screen, it's this screen mostly in console games, but it's also in PC games these days, right? Because they're ported. Before the game, where you see the logo and it says press start to begin or something, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean with the splash screen. I mean, that's not technically the splash screen, I guess, but whatever. Technically, that screen is what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And there is a lot of games that have it, right? And the only reason I can see for it ever being constructed, I guess, why is it there at all, right? Is my question, right? And the only logical reasoning I can see is that it's there because of arcade games.
Yeah.
Because arcade games needed a screen where you insert the coin, right? So that's the insert coin screen.
Yeah.
And then that's still there,
all these years
4 years later, even though you don't put in a coin, right? And we'll actually get back to shmups later, because there's a lot of structure in shmups, right? For example, still today that is still there today, that doesn't make sense today, right?
Yeah.
In this.
I think the splash screen example is funny because our favorite guy, Jonathan Blow, he's talked about this a lot, right?
Oh yes.
He talks about this all the time. Because his games, he's very adamant about his games always starting in the game.
Yes.
So when you start Braid or The Witness for the first time, the first thing you see is actual gameplay.
Yes, that is.
And he rants all the time about okay, so I'm starting the game, then there's all these logos popping up and fading away very slowly, and then there's a splash screen, and then I need to press X or whatever. And then there's a loading screen to load the menu.
Yes.
And then I need to press play.
Yes.
And then I need to select difficulty and whatever. And then there's another loading screen. And then I'm in the game. And it's there's so many steps.
Don't forget that you need to when you create a new game, you need to select your save slot.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though there's no point in selecting it or something, right?
Yeah.
Because of old NES game did it 30 years ago or something, right?
Yeah.
Because it was tied to the like physical hardware, right? It was like, do you want to save it on this like physical memory card or that physical memory card, right? So it had a purpose. But these days it's like, no, you're saving to the same drive. It doesn't matter. Just put it somewhere. Like, and don't give me 3. Like, give me 50. It doesn't. Like the save file is like a megabyte max, right? It's
yeah, and it's very interesting when you play The Witness, because it's like,
yeah, for sure. With that
you
part,
always when you launch the game, first of all, the game launches really quickly, which is nice. And then it like you always launch into the game, so it's like where you left off, you start again.
Yeah, you just stand there,
and there's no menu or anything. And like if you want to change the settings and stuff, you can go out to the menu, so it's not like there's no menu there, but it's like it's not
it
like
doesn't
shoved
default
in your face.
There.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess one way to spin this, partly at least, is like sane defaults, right? It's one way you could argue what we're talking about a bit today, right? That the defaults are defaults from a what do you say, legacy perspective, right?
Yeah.
Not because they are necessarily reasonable defaults. A lot of the time.
Yeah, I think sorry, did you want to say something?
No, I guess to be clear, I do understand that in some cases, and we've talked about this as well, like there is some like artistic merits to some of the legacy, right, of those choices, but a lot of them I feel like are just there because people don't spend any time thinking about it at all, which I mean, fair enough, like gameplay is more important, but still, right? We'll get to it later with games that, like, there are games that do think about this that would be unplayable if they didn't think about it, right? We'll get to that later, I guess. Yeah. So what were we going to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as you mentioned before, with like the splash screen example and with save files, it feels like people are just doing them because that's what everyone has always been doing.
Yeah.
And like, if you think about it, it's like, okay, I can just do this way simpler and not have this like extra menu option that you have to pick, and like just remove one step. And as you said, it's like, okay, like if it's a good game and it has some like unnecessary menu bloat, that's like, it's still a good game, right? But the game would be better if it didn't have it.
But sometimes it is actually, I think it's to the detriment, because you can see again, like in the other way, you can see games that if you remove their thoughtful flow, they would be bad, right? But another thing I want to clarify with this, right, is I guess it's basically what you said, right? But it's not necessarily, it's a bit different, I guess. Like it's not necessarily that we're saying like, oh, every game should be like The Witness and have no menus, right? That's not it, because for that kind of game where it's like, what do we call it, checkpoint style game, right, where you're like continuously going through the game, yes, then I agree with Jonathan, but I think that is the best structure. You don't want any menu, because like you can just go back and pick that later, right? The most common option will be, I want to continue on my save file, right? So just make that the default, and then you can go back and do something else, right? But for example, if we were talking about, I don't know, like a roguelike or something.
Starting in the middle of a game.
I mean, I guess maybe if it's a long roguelike, I don't know, that was a bad example. True. I'm trying to think of something else.
If you can save and stuff, but like a
multiplayer, like Counter-Strike, your favorite game, right? It wouldn't make sense if it just launched you into a ranked game, right, or whatever.
No, that's true.
Because like it's not clear that that's the default option or whatever, right? So just again clarifying that it is very contextual what should be the default option, right? In the menu. And it's the same like
it's the same.
No, I was thinking like of other games, but maybe I don't remember what they do, so never mind.
Which ones?
No, I was thinking of like it doesn't matter. It's not, they don't do it that way.
Okay. Well, maybe we want to move on to the like good example right away, or
maybe
best
we can go there because I was trying to not go there, but then we can go there, I guess.
Yeah, because I think it makes sense. So I think we've talked about this a lot before. We even talked about it last week's episode, right? Which is Super Hexagon. Now that game, I'm a big fan of that game, but it's a very like fast-paced, dodging game where you dodge in a hexagon. I said circle last time and you got mad at me, so I'm gonna say hexagon this time.
Very important.
Yeah.
It is a pentagon sometimes though, and
true,
square.
And a square sometimes. Spoiler alert. But yeah, so anyways, so in this game you play for a few seconds and then you die most of the time because it's a very difficult game and it's a very fast game. So you basically just die over and over and over again until you get good, and then you like start having like maybe 30 seconds before you die or 45 seconds before you die until you finally beat the level, which is 1 minute long, right? Yeah. So you never play for more than a minute at a time, right? So it's very often you're gonna be dying and restarting. And the way this is handled by the game is absolutely genius because you literally, when you die, it says game over, and then you literally just press a button to restart, and that's it. And you're like instantly back. Like you don't go back into a menu or anything. It just like pops up and shows like you survived this long. Press whatever button is, I don't remember, to restart, and then you press it, and then you're instantly back. No loading screen, no nothing. Now, obviously, it's a very simple game, right? So it doesn't need a long loading screen. But like still, it's very nice and it's very clearly thought out. And I'm 100% sure, though I can't confirm it, but my theory is that like Terry Kavanagh, the creator of this game, like actually thought about this a lot when he designed the game, because he like if he had a bad menu system before, he probably realized while playtesting the game that like, oh shit, this menu system is getting in the way. I'm just gonna make it super simple, right?
Yeah. This is also, by the way, one of the reasons why we've discussed in the past, game designers needs to play games a lot. Because if you don't because I mean, I've seen him play the game. He's pretty good at the Super Hexagon. I don't know if you've seen. So
I have seen that video.
So like he clearly plays his own game, right? Which makes sense when you consider the flow of that game. And so to go back to our original point, right, that I said earlier, where it's like this game, right, would not be playable if it had the normal structure of when you game over, you go back to the main menu and then you click through all the, and I'm not saying all games do this, by the way, but there are games that do this, right? You click through all the selections to go back to the level you wanted to play, right, and then you click on that level. That would never work, right? That would be too slow. Like even adding a like go back and then like, are you sure, like pop up or something, right? Or you do you want to play this level or whatever? Like one more screen would completely ruin the flow of that game, right?
Yeah, I think Super Hexagon is such a good example because it's like so fast or whatever. Like you die so fast. So it's like if they would have added like a game over, you died screen like in Dark Souls. Like that would be completely unplayable because you just want to get back into it, right? You don't want to wait. You play for such a short time and you die so fast and then you restart so fast and like you're instantly back in it. And if it wasn't like that, that game would absolutely suck.
And it's a bit context dependent, right? Because like you said with Dark Souls, I think because the entire game is slower paced, it's more okay that the death screen is also slower paced. But there is a limit even there, and I mean the loading screens, for example, in those games are completely unacceptable.
Absolutely.
It's not a problem if you're on a like newer PC and playing like Dark Souls 1, right? But if you're playing Dark Souls or Demon Souls on the PlayStation 3, that is like not nice.
Or the Nintendo Switch, as I did fairly recently.
Maybe it's
the loading screens. The loading screens are very slow. And it's like because I've played Dark Souls only on PC before. And it's very clearly different. It's like when I play Dark Souls on PC, I don't give a shit when I die because it's like fairly fast. But on the Switch, it's like, I don't know, 20 seconds of loading time or something, and that's like that gets annoying very quickly. So it's like,
and I mean I do understand that is probably a technical thing, right?
Yeah.
But that's sort of the point also we're kind of trying to make, right? That the designers should push the technical people to think about these things, right? Because there are you can argue like they ran out of time or whatever, or like they didn't, like it was too late. But like if they did they could have structured it in a way where like it keeps track of like the latest bonfire area and keeps that in memory or something, right? So like, and I mean, you could argue, okay, well then they can't have as much map loaded, or like, sure, there's trade-offs, right? But yeah, I like. But yeah. There are ways to do it. Is my point.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the big point is that like, even if there is no technical ability like on your team, or if you're a solo developer and you don't have the technical expertise, you should still like have all of this in mind. Like it's not. I feel like a lot of designers see these things as...
Can I add one thing to the Dark Souls thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just before, because like they do actually think about this in the third one. So in the third one, there's a hub area.
Yeah.
But the hub area is connected to a bigger area. But they don't load the bigger area. They only load the hub. So there's like fog walls to go out of the hub area.
Yeah.
So like they in that case they recognize that, right? Where it's like, maybe we don't, like, let's not load that area, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying there are ways where they could like let you get back in, but maybe like you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Sorry, continue.
No, I was gonna say that like, even if you like lack the technical expertise, it's like still something you should keep in mind, because I feel like a lot of designers who aren't very technical seem to think that these kinds of things don't matter at all, which they do. And like obviously if you lack the technical knowledge of how to do it, then it's fine that it's a bit janky or weird or slow or whatever, but it would obviously be preferable for it not to be that way, I guess. Which perhaps brings me to one of the bad examples of this, which is I've talked about it a lot before, Emerald Blue. That's like it's a shmup, and it's pretty good. I've been playing it a little bit, but one thing that annoys me a lot about that game, and as I've said, I've ranted about this before on the podcast, it's like when you die, you have to basically restart the game every time. So it's like you die, and then you get like the score screen, and then you press a button, and then the game reloads the main menu, and then you have to press like 3 buttons. So you need to press confirm because you're on the splash screen, and then you need to press play, and then you need to select your ship because you can pick between two ships. And then it like plays a super slow what do you want to call it, like introductory animation, or it's not super slow, it's a few seconds, but it's like it becomes super slow when you like die over and over again, and you just want to play the game, because seeing that animation all the time isn't very interesting, and it just gets in the way.
I guess like since you brought up shmups, I guess we'll go there, right? Which is shmups is a really interesting example, because sure, most of them are maybe not that bad that you have to restart the entire game. And a lot of them are older, so they run like emulated, like even the real releases, right? So they can be like reloaded and stuff. But
you can also have save states a lot of times, right?
I mean, well, that they're emulated even in like official ports or whatever, right? But there is, like, in my mind, there is a lot of, like, in the newer ones, there is a lot of things structurally that are because of the arcades, right? So like you said, first you have the splash screen, right? You put in the coin, right? And then you have the whatever, like it depends on the game, right? Maybe you pick the difficulty or something, right? And then you pick the ship, right? And then you get to play. Or there's a loading.
Or you can pick like a secondary weapon or whatever.
And obviously I'm not saying they shouldn't have those options, or although maybe I do as well, but that's completely another point. It's interesting sometimes to have the options, but the point I'm trying to make is that and this is it can depend. Oh my god, I'm going everywhere. Sorry, at once, but like, so if the game is one of those like, I don't know what to call them, like bullet hell, very hard. You need to do a lot of tries to beat them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then in my mind, at least, right, and you can argue against it. That's like I can see arguments against it, but in my mind, you want the shortest path to be like you want the menu, right? Because you want to be able to practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you want basically one click from menu into game, right?
Yeah.
And the other options, like what ship and what difficulty, that should be in other menus, right? It should not be something you pick every time you play.
Yeah.
And I think the reason you pick that every time is because on an arcade machine, like I said, right? You have to pick it every time because there's a new player playing every time, right?
Yeah.
There's no other way. You need to put in the coin and then you need to select all the stuff, right? But if it's on a PC, I'm talking about newer games now, right? Like not actual arcade games. Then there is no reason to have that structure. You can just have a button that's play and another button that's pick character in the menu, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
you could even like, if you want to be fancy about it, you could even do like, okay, the first time you press play, you get to pick the ship.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
you
after
can do
that,
all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or like the intro cinematic plays the first time and you can't skip it, but like the next time you can skip it or something, right? You can
exactly.
stuff like that. Or it doesn't play the second time or like or whatever. Or maybe you have an option to toggle like, oh yeah, do you want to see like animations and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Not to like animations, like intro animations and stuff, right? Yeah. And the same goes for like practice modes. They are in general very underdeveloped, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the word. It's a bit hard for me because like in my mind, a lot of it seems to me like a lot of people don't like the idea of practice modes the way I like them, where I want very detailed practice modes, right, where you can like jump around and do all the details, and some designers are very against that, and in one sense I can't argue against that because I know there are games where like it would break the game if you could just practice whatever you want, right? But I don't know. In those cases, it feels like it's more that like doing the run. That's the point, right? So then it's better if you can practice whatever you want. But like again, the practice modes are usually like too many clicks, like we talked about. Like they could, so like we said before, you could have these options in the menu. You pick what ship you want. Then the practice mode can remember that, right? So you don't need to pick it every time you play the practice mode as well, right? And then the practice mode, another thing, right? It can remember, for example, what you practiced last, right? That's one thing that bothers me a lot, where like I'm playing a thing and it's like, yeah, I'm trying to practice like stage 5 or something, part 3 of stage 5, and I need to click through all the stages and all the parts to get to the part and pick the ship and pick the difficulty and pick everything, and it's like it could just remember what I did last time, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or
it's the same with Emerald Blue once again. It's like you start at the splash screen and then you press a button and then you pick the like. I think you even go into the options menu in that game, which is a weird choice. And then there the practice mode is hidden.
Yeah.
And then you have to like go all the way down and stuff.
Yeah. And I guess this is one where the like. Again, the save states wins, and I think when a save state is more convenient, then you need to. In my opinion, that means to me that the practice mode is not sufficient, right? Because if it's faster for me to launch an emulator and have the like button where I go to the thing, right? Then I need to think more about it, how I do it in my game, right? Because you don't want less. I mean, I get it because it's like running the entire game in like a virtual environment. So it's easier to do all these things, right? I understand from a technical perspective, but if you care about like the quality of the practice mode or whatever, these things matter, as I guess that's my point. Yeah. And again, like I said, I understand. Maybe it doesn't work for all games. I don't know. Because like well, I said it before, right? Like getting over it or whatever, right? Where it's like it's part of the experience that you fall down, right? And the stress or whatever, right? But I feel like that's also a bit different because you're not doing the entire game every time, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the thing there, I think getting over it is more like, it's more like a run back, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so.
Right, but you could argue that that if you could practice the parts, right, that would remove some of the tension, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like if I could go up and do, like just do that one little part. So like you could still keep the run back. So like you can't, you need to redo the entire thing to beat it. But doing that little part, right, that you keep failing on, right? And I understand that like that is sort of part of the experience in that case, right?
Yeah, I think in the case of getting over it, that's like you don't want a practice mode for that because like the game is about the like tension of possibly losing all your progress, right?
Yeah. So that my point there is that if I can't really say that no, every game should just allow practicing when there clearly are cases where you shouldn't, right? So if there's a shmup where you shouldn't do that for some reason, I guess. I don't know. It's in the shmup case. It's harder for me to see it, I guess.
Yeah. I think most shmups are more tailored towards a practice mode or whatever you wanna say.
Yeah, because the structure is so like linear and forced forward. I guess you kind of need it in another way. Whereas in something like getting over it, it's going like back and forth, right? It's not only forward and back. It's like, oh, I go up and then I get very far up and then I fall down and then I go up, right? It's not you fail and retry or whatever in the same way. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think the thing about like a shmup is that the tension is in like the length of the run or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, exactly.
Like let's say you have a 30-minute long shmup, right? It's like the tension is in the fact that you need to like play very well for 30 minutes, right? At a time. Whereas the tension in getting over it comes more from, okay, if I make this jump, I could literally fall back down to the bottom. Like you don't really have that in, like obviously when you die you restart, but like it's not really the same thing.
But you don't really fall down to the bottom in getting over it, right? That's the point.
No, not
because.
Well, a few cases you can, but most of the time you're pretty safe.
Yeah.
It's mostly the illusion of losing your progress. In that game.
Yeah, it's the like stress from like trying to risk a jump, but because like I don't know, when I'm playing a shmup and like let's say you have the final boss or something. I don't know. If I can't practice the final boss, I get a bit disinterested, right? Because it's like okay, then the way to beat this game is to like stock up all my resources and tank through that boss, right? Because I don't know what it's gonna do because I can't practice it, and that's not that interesting in my mind. But maybe someone can prove me wrong, I guess, on that one. So I guess shmup rant over. Let's.
So maybe I could. I could steal this moment and bring up another very good example, which is a game I have been returning to recently, Devil Daggers. Absolutely fantastic game. And now, Devil Daggers doesn't have a practice mode, and I do think that would be nice, like especially since they have the replays. I feel like being able to like go to your replay and like hop in at any point and just practice from that point or whatever, that would be really nice, because the early game does drag on, right? Because it's like it starts very calmly and then it gets very hectic very fast. So like the first like 30 seconds to a minute or so are very chill, and so they do get a bit tedious to play after a while. But one thing that game does incredibly well is that when you die, you literally press R and you've restarted, and there's no loading screen, no nothing, And once again, it's a fairly simple game, so there's no need for a loading screen. But like, it's just very refreshing. And like one thing that I've noticed, like even before when I first played Devil Daggers, was that the game becomes way more like addicting, quote unquote, that way. You know, the great just one more turn Civ quote or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that way when playing Civ. I do feel that way when playing Devil Daggers, and I'm completely sure that one of the reasons for that is that it's so damn easy to restart in that game.
Yep.
It's like, because you also die very quickly, right? It's like when you get hit once, you die. And so it's like you're like on a roll, you're jumping around, you're shooting, you're doing whatever, and then you die, and then you're like fuck, and then you press R, and then you're instantly back into it.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's very easy to be like, okay, just one more try, okay, just one more try, just one more try, and like do it over and over again because it's so fast and so easy to restart. Whereas if you would have had like this big dramatic game over screen and then the game literally restarted every time you died, like I would have more time to think about whether I should continue playing or not, and so I won't a lot more of the time, right?
Yeah.
Because there's like more of a barrier between me retrying and well, there's more of a barrier between me losing and me restarting.
Yeah. That also creates like we have a very old episode where we talked about game overs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was interesting. I don't know. Check it out if you're interested in a similar topic, I guess. Not a lot of people watched it, I think. What was I gonna say? Sorry. Yes, it's there is also like not thematic. What's the word? Like you said, this dramatic game over screen, right? Mm-hmm. It creates this. What's the word for? I'm looking for. Like the player and the unit. So like in Dark Souls, right?
Mm-hmm.
The game does not end in Devil Daggers and in Super Hexagon. Like this is sort of a little bit separate, but it's related to this, right? These games makes it very clear that you're supposed to die, right?
Yeah.
And one way they do that is to not make a big deal out of you dying, right? It's like, oh, you died. You want to restart? Yeah, okay, restart. And then you're like in, and then you can like it just like you died. Who cares? But then like the funny thing, like you said with Devil Daggers, one thing that Devil Daggers does is like when you actually beat your record, the game is like, wow, you're good, you beat your record, right? Congrats, right? But when you die, when you lose, it's like, nah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right?
It's like literally just yeah.
And I think that is actually one of the reasons as well why people. I feel like a lot of people have like very mixed feelings about bad games or about horror games. Yeah. Because a lot of the way modern games are structured are very like they're focused on the story, and the story is like, oh no, the character can't die, and then there's this big like thing that happens when they die that takes like half a minute, right?
Yeah, I think that's actually very interesting because that's something I think about a lot when I play RPGs. Which is that it's very clear that most RPGs are not designed for you to die in mind.
Yes.
Because it's very annoying to die, because it's like you need to go to the load your save menu and then pick your save and then press load.
Yes.
And then there's like usually very long load times in RPGs. And so you end up like waiting a bunch of time. And it's like, it's very clear when you go through that process that you're not supposed to die in those games, because the dying workflow, you know, going back to the word from the beginning, the dying workflow in an RPG is usually bad.
Yes.
And so like it's not designed around dying, and then so the game becomes less interesting, right? Because well, it's not really challenging. You're just like going through the game completely brain dead. And so this is why these kinds of things matter, because like if dying wasn't such big of a deal, like technically like saving time and so on, then I think a lot more games would be designed, maybe not with dying in mind, but like would not design in a way where like you never want the player to die ever because it's a terrible experience. Which I understand why designers do that, because it is a terrible experience to die in a lot of games. And not like terrible experience as in, oh, I'm frustrated because I died. It's like literally, okay, it's actually boring and
it takes like a minute to get back
annoying
into the
to
game.
die.
And to be clear, back in the game, not like back to where you were, right? To be very clear, right? It's not like we're not saying you need to be able to save scum every game, right? That's not the point. No. The point is that you can move your character again or whatever, right?
Yeah, you're back in the game.
Yeah. And
actually, there was one more thing about Devil Daggers that I realized while you were talking, which goes back to what I said about like you or what we said about like, okay, you could have the animation the first time and then the next times you don't have it.
Yeah.
Which Devil Daggers does literally that. So when you start the game, like when you start the game after having shut it down, you press play and then you have this like you're placed in the arena and there's the dagger in the middle and you walk up to the dagger and then the game starts. That's only the first time, and then every time after that you just start back in the game when you restart. And so if you want these kind of like thematic or moody, I guess, things, then you can have those. Just don't make me sit through them every single time.
Yeah.
Right.
Or make them skippable, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But even skippable is like, I don't know, like another thing. I need to bring one more thing up with shmups, right? Some of them have like dialogue.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You can have dialogue. It's like some flavor text or whatever, right? I'm not saying that's not like right. That's fine. But the problem for me is the default, right? The way it should work is like press this button to bring up the dialogue, right? In the run, right? You click a button and then it shows up. It shouldn't be you sit through the dialogue by default, right? And then you can skip through it in quotation marks, right? But that's still annoying, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna read that once, maybe twice, right? And then I'm never gonna read it again. So it shouldn't. The default shouldn't be I need to click through this dialogue every time.
Right?
Yeah. And that's, I guess, another thing. By the way, you talked about RPGs. Holy guacamole, right? Where it's like you go to some big boss and they have like a monologue for like 15 minutes beforehand, and then you lose and you need to go through that again. And like even if it's just clicking through it, right? You still need to actually click through it.
Yeah, and there's actually one thing about RPGs that like I've never heard anyone talk about it, but it triggers me so much every time it happens, and quite a few RPGs do this. And it's that so they'll often have like text boxes with dialogue, right?
Yeah.
But then you can spam a button to make the text go faster.
Yeah.
But a lot of games, what they do is you spam the button and then the text goes faster. And then there's like a dialogue choice after the text. But then you've just been spamming the button to skip the dialogue. So now you accidentally press the like wrong dialogue option.
Nice.
Have you had that before?
Probably, but
because I have it like I've noticed it a lot, and it's always so goddamn annoying because like sometimes it's like, okay, now I need to reload because I picked the wrong option or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's always, or it's like, okay, I'm at the trader or whatever, and I spam to like get away from the trader dialogue, and then the top option is to like do some more dialogue, but I wanted to go to the shop. Like now I need to sit through more dialogue, and it's like, so I need to be very careful about when I spam the button, because otherwise I'm gonna accidentally like pick another conversation option.
Yeah.
And it once again goes back to this thing like, play test your games, right? Because it's very obvious when that stuff happens that nobody who made that game tried to like spam through the conversations, because they would have realized, holy crap, like if you spam through these conversations at the end you'll end up accidentally picking one of the random dialogue options. It's like that's a pretty easy fix, right?
I think a lot of them also play at least from my experience, right, they play test it in playtests tools or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So they get a bit blind to this, right? Where they'll have the game open or whatever, and it's like they'll reload the boss, right, and test it or whatever. But they don't like go through the entire game, right, every time, right?
Yeah.
So they don't get that.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Like they should have more like play through the games through and like make sure that it's easy to get back to. I mean, they don't really care, I think, a lot of them, because a lot of games are focused on like one-time experience going through without dying, right? So
yeah, but even in that case, like my RPG dialogue example is a bad thing, right? It's
well, you wouldn't skip the dialogue first time, is the argument, right?
Well, yeah, that's true, but I do.
yeah.
Or well, at least I skip it to make it go faster, and then I read it, and then I skip once I've read it completely, because it's always a little bit too slow, right? So that everyone can catch up.
Yeah. Like speaking of like story-related stuff, right?
Yeah.
In games, one other thing that like I'm not really sure how to solve it, but games that do this, they need to not do it, in my opinion. Which is they'll have this like very intricate story dump before you get to gameplay.
Yeah.
And that's like
Half-Life.
No, yeah, yes. But I'm thinking more like RPGs, where it's like it's literally just cutscenes and they're talking and blah blah blah. And like maybe put this like an hour in or something, right? I don't know where to put it, like, because sometimes it's like I don't even know if I want to play this game, and it's like I'm just listening to how this world, like they're talking about how this fantasy world is, like the politics of this fantasy world, right? And it's like I'm not ready to care about this yet, right? I need so then you don't even remember it, right? But they put it in the beginning. So that's also like structurally, it's the wrong way structurally, because you need to hook me first, right? Before you can like story dump me, right? You can story dump me later, but I mean, in general, I care more about gameplay. But like, I get it, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, I think one really funny example of this is Metaphor Refantasio.
Yeah,
we discussed this the other day off podcast, where it's like that game takes like, first of all, there's like, as you said, there's a bunch of like story exposition dumping and cutscenes and stuff, but then the game like very very slowly drip feeds mechanics like over time. Like it doesn't let you play the game. It's like a 5 to 10 hour tutorial basically, and you're like very slowly, every single mechanic is introduced very carefully, one at a time or whatever. And I got that game, and I think I ended up playing it for like 5 or so hours, maybe 6 or 7, and like at that point I was like, okay, the game literally hasn't even started yet after like 5 hours. I'm not gonna play this, and then I uninstalled it, and I've never played it since then.
Like Persona, their older game, has the same issue.
Yeah, but I did play that, and it's not as bad. I think
it's
although I could
probably
be
worse. Is
it?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't played Fantasia, so I don't know. I have only played Persona. But I remember, because I played the original Persona 5 when it came out, and then they did this re-release, right? The like Royal something, right, or whatever it's called, right? That one, I did exactly what you did, where I was like, okay, I'm gonna play through this game, and like they did that drip feeding and like just story, like you got to play like 5 minutes, and then they just kept talking, right? So I got so frustrated in the like early part that I quit after like 5 hours or something, right?
Yeah, that's exactly my experience with Metaphor as well.
So maybe it was like you could get through it first time, right, or something, because you hadn't internalized any of the mechanics, right, in the game or something.
Yeah, maybe also it was like quite a long while ago, when I was probably less I had more of a patience when it comes to this kind of stuff, which I don't anymore, because I've like grown tired of it.
I think the older ones are better with that, actually. Like 3 and 4 I think are way better than 5 and Fantasia.
Yeah, I think in general older games are better with this kind of stuff. I mean,
specifically from the same developer, right? Is what I'm saying. Like their older games are not as slow-paced, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like I understand it too. So, like I'm not okay. Like, it's not that there is a lot of story and dialogue and monologue, like story and like management and stuff, because that is definitely, I would argue, the main point of those games.
Yeah.
It's just the way it's presented in the early hours is wasting a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
It takes a long time until you get to control what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very tedious on a like second playthrough, or like if you play
even on the first playthrough in Metaphor's case.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean, that would be the second in like is how I'm thinking, like the second game of theirs. But yeah,
true.
But yeah, yes, I agree. It doesn't. Yeah.
There was one thing I wanted to go back to, if I may.
Yes.
Unless you had something more interesting to say about Persona and Metaphor ReFantasio.
No.
Okay, yeah. So going back to this, getting over it, does it fit with the game or whatever?
Yeah.
There was one other example that I had that I wanted to bring up, which is Outer Wilds. I got it right. Yes, not Worlds. So Outer Wilds it's this like pretty popular time travel game where you play in loops of 20 minutes and then
spoilers.
I don't think that's a spoiler actually.
I don't know.
But whatever. And then the loop resets every 20 minutes basically. And what happens when the loop resets, or like either the loop resets or you die before the loop resets and then the loop resets.
Yeah.
And what happens every time is that it plays this like little animation where like it like flashes through your complete playthrough so far, like the past 20 minutes. And it's like a few seconds long or whatever. And I would say that in this case, this is a good example of like, okay, maybe convenience isn't the like main thing you want to go for here, because that fits very, very like that's very thematical and it fits very well into the game. That like you like see the like previous loop flashing and you like rewind time and go back to the beginning. Like that fits very thematically, and obviously Outer Wilds is more of a story game than anything else, and so it's more tolerable there. I do still believe you can skip that, though. I don't remember. It was quite a while ago I played that game. But like still, it's not as bad as, having to completely restart Ashmap or whatever, because those games you want to be back in the game fast, right? And also there's nothing thematic or cool about having to restart the game.
Yeah.
Whereas there is something thematic or cool about rewinding the time or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about Souls again when you said that, because the Dark Souls games have this nice thing where you sit at the bonfire, and the bonfire you can warp from the bonfire, or you can't warp in Dark Souls 1, but like in Dark Souls 2 and 3 you can warp. You can warp later in Dark Souls. It doesn't matter. The point is that you can reset the area by just sitting down at the bonfire, and it doesn't reload the... Like it does, you don't get a loading screen. It just reloads the enemies, right?
Yeah.
But then in Bloodborne and in Demon Souls, it doesn't work that way. It's like a thing. It only warps you, so there is no like menu or mechanics tied to the like. It's not a bonfire. It's called a lantern in Bloodborne, right? Or something like that. It's a bonfire, right? Whatever, you get what I'm saying, right? The thing you click on that teleports you back to the hub area, right? It just teleports you, is my point. And so like the problem with that is that, well, what if I want to reload an area for some reason? Like let's say I want to re-kill an enemy or something, right? Well, then you need 2 loading screens. You need to load back to the hub area and then back to the area, right? Compared to Dark Souls, where they just reloaded the enemies, right?
Yeah.
And it's also, like Bloodborne, for example, is on the PlayStation 4, so the loading times are very horrible, right? They're god-awful. And not as bad as Demon Souls, holy... Yeah, Demon Souls on the PlayStation 3 is not nice to play. It's amazing game, but like that part is horrible. But my point is... I could see some artistic merit in the fact that no, this thing is just a thing that takes you back to the base, if that makes sense. Like this is not actually like, because we've talked about this in the past, right? Where like the thematic, how the world like works thematically is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like what am I trying to? Like, you can level up at the bonfire in Dark Souls, right?
Yeah.
That is more convenient than having to teleport to an hub area, go to an NPC, and level up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But thematically, maybe that makes sense, right? Does you get what I'm saying? So it's like a hard. It's kind of hard there, right? That's my point. Like, it's not really clear to me how to solve that. More than maybe don't like figure out a way to not have like unload and load both areas.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean,
don't have the dialogue on the NPC. But that they like the way they do it there it's like they have the dialogue as you level up and stuff. At least in Demon's Souls and in, oh boy, details. In Demon's Souls, in Dark Souls 3 and in Bloodborne, I'm pretty sure they put the dialogue on the level up screen. So it's like you start leveling up and they talk as you level up, right? So you don't have to click through dialogue, which is one thing that people like meme about in Dark Souls 2, because like the Firekeeper in Dark Souls 2 will say this funny thing because you skip through the dialogue or whatever, because you have to skip through it every single time you want to level up. So like things like that are obviously not nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, I don't really know how to solve that really, because like, from a like pure convenience standpoint, you would obviously just put all the options in from the like hub area inside the bonfire.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also like not like, maybe that's not as like, yeah, it doesn't fit the theme. Maybe, I don't know. Do you get what?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, maybe that's like a bad example because it doesn't sound very interesting to be like warping back and forth. But yeah, I certainly do see that there could be like,
no, the warping is not interesting, but like,
yeah, like the
thing
the
like
stuff.
so like it makes sense to me. So like in the Bloodborne, for example, there is this like doll, and you talk to this doll to level up, and then there's these tombstones, and these tombstones represent different areas in the game, and you go to specific tombstones to teleport to specific areas and stuff, right? And that is definitely less convenient than having a list of things, right?
Yeah.
But it sort of like fits the theme of that game. So there's sort of this balance as well, right? Where if you do something very thematic, maybe you want to do it in a thematic way. That's not like you said before with the like not skipping, like the cutscene of unwinding, like rewinding the game and stuff, right? Where you want that there, but and so maybe that's the thing, like it should be there, but you should be, because of that, you should be even more considerate about time waste, right? Because you could have just made it a menu or something, right?
Yeah, well, I think in the case of like Demon's Souls and Bloodborne and whatever, it's not as bad, right? Because you don't want to be going to the hub world all the time. So it's like, it's bearable, right?
Well, ironically, Demon's Souls and Bloodborne is the only games that don't have infinite healing items.
Ah, okay.
So you sometimes actually want to farm healing items, right? If you're dying a lot.
Okay, yeah.
And so then you need to like actually
then you need to reset there and stuff, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So it's actually very bad on like PlayStation 3, right? Where it's like, you need to unload and load that very many times.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't they like, I don't know how big the hub area is, but like, couldn't they like always have the hub area loaded?
Yeah, so that's sort of the point I'm trying to make. I mean, they probably couldn't on the PlayStation 3, right?
Yeah, true.
But like that's sort of the point I'm trying to make. Like if you want to keep it that thematic, then you need to give up something else so that it doesn't ruin the pacing or stuff, right? Because that's like one of the things that are for all the things that people like are not nice about the Demon's Souls remake. That is very nice because it's literally you click it and there's like a fog thing and then you're there, right? It loads super fast.
Okay.
So then like that's what, then they have this stupid HDR thing, I guess. So you like whatever, you can't see anything. You know what I mean? Where the screen is black and whatever. I guess it's a little bit cool or something. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. I don't like it. There's a lot of things wrong with that game, but no, the loading times is not one of them. Is my point, right?
Yeah.
And you can feel that when you play. Like that's one of the yeah. You get it. What I'm saying. They fixed that basically because they're running on a PlayStation. They're running a PS3 game on a PlayStation 5. That's why, right? I mean, they did.
Yeah, that does make things easier.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's also like a thing to consider is what platforms they're on. Like I'm more, not that I'm more tolerant, I guess, but like I'm more understanding of like you said, playing like Dark Souls being slow on the Nintendo Switch versus on like a computer, right?
Yeah.
With a fast SSD and whatever, right? And like good CPU.
Yeah.
And like even so like. Or did you want to say something more about Dark Souls specifically?
Nope.
Yeah, okay. So like if you actually like this is more for like indie devs, I guess. If you can't actually make the game load fast because of like maybe you're using like Unreal Engine or something, right? At least try to load everything up front. So this is like we bring up Bogog a lot, right? Bogog is really good designer, and I don't know if he made this decision right in Gunvein, but Gunvein it loads super slow, right? It's garbage loading time. It's insanely slow. I don't know what it's loading. And maybe Game Maker is just slow because it's like Gunvein is made in Game Maker. But someone on that team made the genius decision, right? To load everything up front, which means that the game takes like 20 seconds to start, but after that there is no loading. There is no loading. You can just it just starts the game. It just starts practice. Everything just starts fast. And like that might sound bad. Oh, it loads for 20 seconds, but it's how like back to our original argument about this. It's not about how long it takes necessarily, it's how it compounds, right? So if the most common option is I go into practice mode or I go into run mode and it needs to load for 5 seconds every time, that is way worse than it takes 20 seconds to load the first time, right? So like this is sort of the thing I'm like trying to like want to bring up, I guess, as well. It's not always necessarily about the fact that things are slow, because like sometimes games are like computationally heavy, right? Like the latest 3D graphic stuff with 4K, blah blah, right? Whatever. It takes time to load, but it's where you load, right? That is also an important thing. Like make sure you don't load in the like I don't know, like the critical I don't know what do you call it, like the area where the player will be the most, like we said with the Demon Souls thing, right? If you're jumping back and forth between these two areas, maybe it's not a good idea to like unload and load both of those areas every time, right? Maybe figure out another way to do it. I get it. It was a PlayStation 3. There's literally no memory on that thing, right?
Yeah.
Compared to what we have today.
Yeah.
I mean, someone that plays on older stuff is going to be like, oh, it has so much memory, right? But it is true. I guess it does have it. But like
compared to a Nintendo 64,
yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, but like, doesn't it have like the RAM is in megabytes? I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but like
on the PS3.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's pretty bad actually. I thought it was.
It's like that. I think so at least. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like 1 gig or something. Yeah. I don't remember, but like it's not it's not
it's not
fast.
a lot compared to today.
Yeah. No, I think is it the Xbox 360? I think it has 512 megabytes of RAM. I think.
I don't know.
I think so. We're making shit up now, so.
I heard that it had 2 kilobytes of RAM.
Yeah,
actually.
no, but the point is like compared to what we have today, they are super slow, right?
Yeah.
And so like today, people need. There is even more reasons to be fast today, right? Because of all this stuff.
Yeah, like especially when we're talking about small indie games. Like nowadays, you can literally just load the whole game into RAM.
Yeah,
like
you should, right?
Yeah, you should.
Like whatever engine you're using, you just load all the assets. Like, don't use any of the built-in stuff in like any of the engines, right? It's just complete waste of time. Just have one scene or whatever and load everything. immediately, right? And then you can make your own like swap level thing, right? Because you don't need to load any assets at all. You just have them in RAM.
Yeah.
And I guess you'll stream like music or something or whatever. I don't know how it works.
I wanted to mention quickly about the gun vein example. I think that's a very like good example of what we were talking about before, where it's like it's very obvious that someone actually play tested that game properly. Because like as you said, it's like okay, we need to load and it takes a bunch of time, either because we don't have the technical expertise or because of the engine being bad or whatever. And so it's like okay, so just put everything at the start, because then that doesn't affect the gameplay experience. So it's like it's very clear that someone noticed that the loading times affected the gameplay experience and decided to put all the loading up front. And like so it's very clear that that game has been play tested and that like the workflow or whatever you want to call it has been optimized. And it's just very refreshing to see developers keep that in mind, because a lot of developers kind of ignore that or don't think about it whatsoever.
Sure.
Then we wanted to talk a bit about, or did you want to say something?
No, keep going.
A bit about AAA games.
Yes, exactly.
Can
I bring up I want to bring up the like the wall thingy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because that's like that bothers me so much, because a lot of I think most AAA games do this, right? Where they'll have this like elevator or this like you like squeeze through like a cavern or something, right?
A crack in the wall.
And it's like, oh yeah, this is clever because it's hiding loading screens, right? And I mean, sure, maybe it hides it on that hardware or whatever, but then if you're running it on other hardware, it's like just wasting everyone's time, right? Because like for example, PlayStation 3 games, right, that did that are ported to like newer consoles or PCs, they would load those instantly, right? So it's just that's like one of the things, you criticize Half-Life a lot, but like the loading screens in Half-Life like have aged really well, right? Because when it came out, it was kind of bad, right? It's like, oh, it stops and it loads for like 20 seconds. But these days,
nowadays it's like 1 second.
It's like,
that's a very good point.
So like thinking about stuff like that is also like that hardware scales right into the future. And also, to be honest with you, I think I'd rather take the fucking loading screen.
I was gonna say that. Like even if we're like talking about a game made today on like the hardware of today, I would rather take a loading screen, like a quick Half-Life style loading screen, where it's like just pops up for a second and pauses the game or whatever. Because like these animations are so incredibly boring to sit through, and also they are a waste of time, right? Because it's like, okay, so I like go through this crack in the wall or whatever. Like I remember what's it called? Jedi Fallen Order did this. Did this a lot, and it was like all the time I was going through cracks in the wall or whatever. And it's like, okay, but the loading is probably a bit faster than going through the crack in the wall, right? That's sort of the way I'm thinking. Like, so it needs to load a little bit faster than the animation, because otherwise I would like see that everything isn't loading in. So it's like, it has to be like at least like half a second or so slower than the actual loading. And so then you're like wasting a bunch of my time trying to hide the loading. Instead of just having the loading. And wasting less of my time. It's like, it's a bit backwards.
For sure. And then we have like multiplayer games. Isn't it like Call of Duty or something, where it's like you launch the like main thing to launch the thing. So it's like launches one application and then that quits to launch another application and then that quits or whatever.
I was actually talking to someone who was trying to play the Battlefield campaign. And he was saying like the Battlefield 6
maybe it was
campaign.
Battlefield I was thinking of,
Yeah. So it's like, okay, you start Battlefield 6, and then it has this like really, really long startup, and it's like it's starting up the anti-cheat, and it's checking for updates, and it's checking the server or whatever.
Yes.
And then you load up the game, and then there's another loading screen. Okay, good. And then it's like, okay, now I'm in the game. Now I press the play campaign button. The game shuts down and starts up again. It's like, okay, just let me pick the campaign button from the start, right? It's like Steam has this like integrated pop-up thing where it's like, which launch option do you want? Just use that. It's like way less in the way.
That is actually really interesting, because I've always League of Legends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has this like I don't like it at all, but it's this like launcher thingy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you play the game through the launch, like you do the matchmaking and the buying and all of the stuff in the launcher.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that workflow, back to the word workflow, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that like flow of that, like in my mind I was thinking that's dumb, because then you need to load the game when you start the game. But I guess that sort of makes sense, because you will spend a lot of time in the menus in a multiplayer game, right? Because you're like setting up who you're playing with and like queuing for a game and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's obviously kind of convenient that the game is loading that thing, because that's not as heavy as loading the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also kind of in the background. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think I'm actually not anti-launchers. I just think many launchers are poorly made.
I mean, you could argue it's just the game, right? I'm not saying like launcher stuff is obviously insanely garbage. Like you launch like Steam, and then you launch like the Paradox launcher or something you've talked about, right? And then that launches EU4.
That's absolutely terrible. Yeah.
But this is sort of like, my point is that the main menu of League of Legends is actually in the like, it's like a thing, little app thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's not. It's not like in the game, and like maybe that makes it like faster to get in, right? If that makes sense.
I think that works.
It does take longer.
Counter example. Counter example. Not Battle.net. Fuck. What's it called? Battlelog. Do you remember Battlelog?
Yeah, I do remember Battlelog.
From like Battlefield 3 and 4, which was literally a website.
I think that works better than most of the modern Battlefield menus, though.
That is true. Actually, counterpoint to my counterpoint. You're right. I would rather take that than the like modern.
I mean, you run into the issue that it needs to load the entire game when you load into a game, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a bit annoying, right? Because it's But I guess then it would still need to load the map, so I don't know if it makes that much of a difference.
Yeah, exactly. You're like skipping the menu loading times, so it's like kind of worth it, maybe.
Yeah. Another thing with those games that I don't understand is that quitting them takes so long. I don't understand. Just disappear, stupid executable. Yes. Like, why does it take 20 seconds to leave a server in a game like that?
There are several games that I Alt F4 because I can't bother to wait for them to quit properly.
It's insane. What are they doing? I mean, I know what they're doing. They're sending a bunch of telemetry to the developers.
Yeah. True.
Or maybe they're like doing anti-cheat stuff as well. I don't know. But then again, this is not the anti-cheat episode. I'll keep that for another day.
Yeah, someday.
Yeah.
There's actually.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually like, because you mentioned Paradox, right?
Yeah.
And Paradox games have absolutely terrible workflows, especially modern Paradox games, which mostly comes down to like absolutely insane loading times. Mm-hmm. Like I think like Crusader Kings Victoria 3 and EU5 and whatever, they have like at least a minute of loading time starting the game, which is a lot. But anyways, they have some weird, interesting workflow decisions made, and one of the things which you mentioned is the Paradox launcher, right? So previously, Paradox Games used to have a separate launcher for each game. Like they had the EU4 launcher and the Crusader Kings 2 launcher or whatever. And it was kind of unnecessary, right? The argument is that, oh, well, then you can pick your mods before you start the game, because it's like many people heavily mod Paradox Games. But for me, who doesn't really play modded, like I play some mods sometimes, but most of the time I don't. It's like a complete waste of time for me. Just launch me into EU4.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a launch option or whatever. Or you could even, this is probably going to be a controversial thing to say among people who mod EU4 a lot, but you could even have someone launch the game, let them choose the mods in the game, and then restart the game quickly once they pick their mods.
Yeah.
That's probably a way better way to do it than the actual launcher.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, I guess this depends on the argument of who, like what the workflow is. Is the workflow you change mods a lot? I don't know. Maybe that's
I don't do that a lot.
I would assume you pick the mods you want and then you
play with them.
You play with them. So you don't want to optimize for that time, right? That's a bad optimization. Mm-hmm. So I would argue that you're correct. The correct way is to do it the slow way, right?
But then there's actually, like, there's no big point to what I'm gonna say here, but I think it's a very interesting and weird and completely stupid decision. So I play EU4 a lot, and EU4 has always had this thing where, like, you start the game and then you can choose like single player, multiplayer options and so on and so on. And for some reason, I don't know why, there's probably like some, the way the engine was coded back in the 2005 or whatever. For some reason, when you start a single player game, if you go back and want to start a multiplayer game, you need to restart the game for it to work. So like, I don't know why, but anyways, previously, before, what used to happen back in the good old days of EU4 is you pressed single player, and then if you wanted to go back to the main menu to like change your options or whatever, you pressed back, and then the multiplayer button was grayed out, and when you hovered over it, it said you need to restart the game to access multiplayer.
Interesting. Okay.
But sometime, I don't remember, it was quite a while ago, like maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, they changed that. They changed it so that if you go into single player and then press back, it automatically restarts the game for you. That's like the most terrible decision ever. What the fuck were they thinking?
That's kind of bad.
Yeah, because like restarting the game takes quite a bit of time, because it's like a Paradox game and they have slow loading times. And it's like, yeah, sure, there's not a lot of times where I like press single player and then change my mind and want to go back. But like the few times that I do, I'm always super duper annoyed. And actually, it's like
the options or something.
Yeah, actually, I kind of forgot. It's actually worse, because if you're in the game and you press go back to main menu for some reason, then the game also restarts automatically. And it didn't used to do that. So this is purely to like not have the player manually do the multiplayer restart.
Nice.
And it's like completely pointless, because there are so few times, like I think even EU4 players who play a lot of multiplayer, which I don't, even EU4 players who play a lot of multiplayer don't really, like, this doesn't help them.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they can just restart the game if they like press the single player button accidentally or whatever. It's like not that big of a deal for them, but for me, who plays single player mostly, it is a big deal, because I don't care about the multiplayer. I just want to play the single player, and like I don't want to restart the game every time I go back to the main menu. Yeah, and so it's once again, as I said, there's no like big point or lesson that has to be learned from this. It's just like, this is once again an example of like, they optimize for the wrong workflow.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I guess if you go, or maybe you don't go back to the menu to quit. Maybe there's like a quit from the game.
Yeah, there is a like quit game button.
But otherwise, like, you would have to go back to the menu, right?
Yeah.
That does not sound nice.
No, it's not. So it's like they had the proper solution. Like obviously the proper solution would be to fix the thing so you can just start multiplayer anyways. But like, okay, the half proper thing is, okay, have the grayed out multiplayer button when you need to restart the game.
I mean,
but then they decided to
load
ruin
you
it
into your latest save file.
Well, no, maybe not for EU4 because you can have like quite a few save files going on at the time and stuff like that. So it's like, I think that's like one good example of a game you don't want to load in right away. But they do actually in the launcher, they do have a continue button that like launches you right into the game, which is kind of cool actually.
Maybe it sounds to me more like, oh boy, this is gonna sound way ruder than I was planning, but like,
go ahead.
The technology, like they don't know how it works, so they've built this launcher to like build around the tech of the game, right?
Maybe. I think the launcher thing was more a telemetry thing, because it used to be like just a game launcher, like it was literally just the game. But then they have like, then they changed it out for this like unified Paradox launcher trademark, where you need to have like a Paradox account, and it has a bunch of telemetry stuff and a bunch of ads and stuff like that.
But that was a later decision. Like it sounds to me like with their continue and stuff, right? It's like they wanted to add a way to continue, but they couldn't figure out how to do it in the main menu, right? Or something.
Maybe,
Considering that their solution, like, maybe I am being too mean here, but it sounds to me that they have no clue how the engine works. If they, instead of fixing the issue that you go back to the main menu, you restart the game, right? But maybe I'm being too, like, generalizing too much about what they understand there. But it seems like one of those cases where, like, the guy that wrote that is not there anymore and they don't want to touch it. But maybe I'm wrong.
No.
I mean, I don't know, so I can't. Can't say for sure.
Do you have anything? Do you have any rant you want to make, or?
I mean, menus are dog shit. We wrote that as a point as well, right? Like in general, menus are too slow and like the flow of menus are just in general bad, and that's actually outside of games as well, right? People are just very, very, very terrible at UX at the moment. Insanely terrible. It's complete garbage. It's like you need a PhD to figure out how to change your like attachments in your like Battlefield or whatever, right? It's absolutely insane.
There's even in like I say even in like, but it's like a prime example of bad UI in CS2.
I hate CS UI. Oh my god.
It's absolutely terrible. And it's like, you know, the typical style.
It wasn't like that in the old, like the original Go menu was fine, and then they did this stupid.
So it's like following the new like what the fuck do you call it? Live service multiplayer competitive game standard, where it's like it's a bunch of tabs and there's a bunch of ads and there's microtransactions and there's like and something that makes no sense whatsoever to me is that you have this like play sub menu where you can like pick your game mode and which maps you want to play and so on. The thing is that when you queue for a match, you can't like select another tab for some reason.
Nice.
So it like grays it out, and it's like you can't change while queuing. And like obviously like it doesn't matter that much because I'm probably not gonna change game mode while I'm queuing. But like, why the fuck can I not do it? Like, there's no reason for me not to be able to do it. Why block me in the first place? And stuff like that. And it's the same, like they added so you can like they've always had that. You know, you can change which weapons you have, like if you have the A4 or the A1 for the M4 and stuff like that. You can't do that while queuing for some reason. Nice. I don't know if it like sends to the server what loadout you have before or what, but that doesn't make any sense. But there's a bunch of like, but yes, CS, even though it's a bad example, I would say that it's one of the less bad examples, because there are some AAA games that have absolutely atrocious.
That's one UI. Of the. So like, I don't know why that is the case, because like, as much as I hate the splash screens on console games, right? They're like like we talked about in the beginning, they are usually followed up by like a list of things you click on, right? For like in Dark Souls or whatever, or in like any, I think Uncharted and all of those games, or like God of War, they're all like that. I think I could be wrong, but I think so, right? It's like a scene in the background from the game, right? And a list. But multiplayer games, they have, I don't know where they're, I don't know what they're smoking or who they've hired.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think I've talked about this. I don't remember. This was like a really long time ago, way back when we started the podcast. We were talking about UI and UX for some reason.
Yeah.
And I brought up as an example, like, okay, when like, because we compared like the main menu in Call of Duty 4 to like the modern Call of Duties and like how atrocious they are. And I remember saying like, well, when COD 4 was released, the UI was made by like Steve, the graphics programming guy, because no one else wanted to do the UI. So he just made the like most simple basic UI he could, which is good UI. But nowadays, Call of Duty has like at least 100 UI programmers and at least 50 UX designers. And they're all like, oh yeah, we need to add this thing and we need to add this thing. And like, you know, these games take like 10 years to make nowadays. And so what are the UI and UX people gonna do for 10 years? They're gonna make the most insane, advanced, complex UI ever.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, the opposite of what you want.
Yeah, that 10-year thing, by the way, I this is very off topic, but I just need to bring it up because like, you know GTA? Like GTA 6 is coming out this year, right?
Yeah.
And I don't remember. Like 5 came out in 2013, I think.
Yeah.
13, right? That's 13 years ago. Like there is no way. Like if you look, so like the oldest one was in like 90 something, right? And then it was like 1 or 2 years between them, right? And then the longest dev cycle after that was like 4 years, from 4 to 5.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was like 5 years. And then now we're 13 years since GTA 5. Like it's insane how long these games are taking to make. That was very off topic, but
and like imagine now that you have like an actual team of like tens, if not hundreds, of UI programmers and designers and whatever who have been working on that game for 13 years. What are they gonna do for 13 years? Obviously they're gonna make the most complex piece of shit UI.
But the thing is still though, like that doesn't, like obviously that kind of makes sense, but then why are the console games not as shit? Because they obviously also have UI teams, right?
What do you mean? Are they better?
I mean, if you launch like, I don't know, like name a game, no, like a modern game.
Fuck you! You put me on the spot here.
I don't know. Let's say Resident Evil. I'm
Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, that's a PC game though.
Oh, okay. You're talking console.
Like the new Resident Evil or something, right? I'm sure the menu, like the main menu in that game, is like splash screen, and then it says like Resident Evil or something, right? And then you click, whoosh, and then you get to like a list of stuff, right? I haven't played this, so I have no clue. I'm just guessing, right? And then, you know, you get like, there's a cool, like the main protagonist, Leon or whatever he's called, right? He's standing there with a gun, and then it's like a list of things, right? That's the usual like console UI still, right? They haven't changed, right?
Yeah, I think it's more a live service thing.
Yeah,
like,
sure. Yeah, but why? I guess was
that
my
causes
question.
The bad UI.
Oh, you think it's because it's a live service?
Yeah, I think because it's like, okay, you need to have somewhere to like put the ads, and you need to have like your friends list and stuff like that, and you need to have everything visible and whatever, and so it kind of
you have all the like friend and stuff, and then they're thinking more about like click retention and stuff, right? Because they're free to play and stuff. Yeah, I guess. I guess they just hire different people to do it. I guess.
Yeah, I think it's mostly a live service thing, and then also I think like, you know, CS is a perfect example because we brought it up before. It's like these UIs get more complex over time. So like back in CSGO, the UI was actually fairly simple, and now it's not. And I think that's just like they've worked more on it and they've added more stuff and it's become more complex with time. And so it becomes worse. I think that's just the reason. And then there's also like probably some UX design trend that's like super bad. But like, they haven't reached console games, I guess. I haven't played console games in a long time, so I don't know if what you're saying
Dark
is true,
Souls as well, right? Or like
Elden
Ring.
Well, Dark Souls is old, though.
No, but like they have literally this. They haven't. I can bet money. Like it's the same code running in Elden Ring, right? That's running in Dark Souls.
Yeah.
They have not changed that. It's the same menu, right? I mean, they've added stuff, obviously, but like, it's still the same. Like the one dude, right? We talked about, right? His code is still running, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess we could go down a rabbit hole there, but I think that might be good to save. Like, cause I have some other things there that is interesting, so maybe we should like make an episode about that at some point, sure. Because like there's a lot of stuff to talk about with like UI in general, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Stay tuned, guys. I bet you're shaking in your seats or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's it. We've been yapping for a while.
Yeah. I guess we can mention the Discord again. We have a Discord.
Yes, we have a Discord.
It's very active. We write there a lot. No, we'll add some stuff over time.
We will work on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like if you have like anything, like obviously you can write comments still. We read the comments and we respond to the comments. But if you want to have like more in-depth discussion, or you want to like recommend some games or some topics or whatever,
and stuff, or just talk about them in general, right?
Yeah.
Or like a link to articles and stuff, right? It's like, interesting game design article or something, right? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
Review of game. I don't know. I don't like
reviews. Or if you want to tell us our videos suck.
Yes. I'll ban you. No, I won't. You can do it. Yeah.
But anyways, thanks everyone for listening. Hope you've enjoyed. Leave a like, a dislike, a subscribe, a comment.
Do you leave a subscribe? I don't think you leave a subscribe.
You leave a subscribe.
Okay, yeah, you leave a subscribe.
Maybe they like interpret that as unsubscribe, which I hope they don't.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they did on the last one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, thank you everyone. Goodbye.
Bye everyone.